Hey darlings, welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales, your safe space where the truth shines brighter than a royal tiara and Meghan's glow is forever untouchable. Today's episode, buckle up, because we're talking about how royal reporters, yes, still are clutching their pearls over Meghan Markle's choice to wear white at her own wedding. 7 years later. And get this, they're now dragging dead royal cousins into the mess, trying to backdate outrage using dusty old grudges from beyond the grave. Let's break this nonsense down. To understand the persistence of this criticism, we must look at the stories the media chooses to tell. Lady Anson, a cousin to the late Queen, is often invoked as a supposed source of royal disapproval. These stories paint a picture of a family in outrage, but we must ask, who benefits from this narrative? Lady Lisa, no longer here to confirm or deny, is used to lend weight to gossip. The media crafts a tale of tradition versus change, hero versus villain, to keep the controversy alive. It's compelling but rarely factual. The truth is often lost in the drama. Lady Lisa's memory is borrowed to legitimize criticism, but it's just another chapter in a story shaped by those outside the palace walls. The real conflict isn't about etiquette, it's about who gets to define the royal story. And so, the tale of the white dress continues, fueled by ghosts and gossip. Let's examine the so-called offences, the colour of the dress and the veil. Critics argue pure white is for first-time brides, but this is a Victorian custom, not royal law. Meghan's choice was personal, not scandalous. The veil, too, was criticised, yet Meghan explained it honoured the Commonwealth. Ignoring her intentions, critics chose outrage over understanding. Even her involvement in wedding planning was framed as problematic, too independent, too modern. The pattern is clear. Every choice was twisted into an act of defiance. The media constructed a persona to be disliked, not a fair portrait. In reality, Meghan made meaningful choices for her own wedding. The so-called scandals were illusions, distractions from the real story. This wasn't about tradition, it was about resisting change. The storm was never in the dress, but in the reaction to it. Sometimes a teacup holds more drama than the event itself. In royal reporting, double standards are hard to miss. Meghan faced criticism for choices others made without controversy. Catherine, Princess of Wales, wore her hair down at her wedding, a break from tradition, yet celebrated. King Charles and Queen Camilla, both divorces, married without scandal. But for Meghan, the old rules were suddenly revived. The scrutiny wasn't about etiquette, it was about who she was. The institution adapted for some, but not for her. The backlash revealed discomfort with Meghan's identity, not her actions. She was held to a higher standard, singled out as an outsider. The criticism exposed deeper issues within the monarchy and the media. It wasn't about protecting tradition, it was about policing difference. And that's the real story behind the outrage. The debate over Meghan's dress was never about etiquette, it was about control. The monarchy, built on tradition and image, resisted Meghan's independence. Her choices disrupted the carefully managed narrative. Criticism became a tool to pressure her into conformity. The attacks on her dress and wedding were proxies for a larger struggle: individual autonomy versus institutional control. Meghan threatened to write her own story, and that was unsettling. The media and palace wanted to define her, not let her define herself. The real scandal was a woman refusing to be moulded. Her dress became a symbol of that refusal. For an institution built on control, her autonomy was the true challenge. And that's what made her so controversial. Amidst the noise, the Queen's own actions spoke volumes. On Meghan's wedding day, Queen Elizabeth was all smiles, warm, welcoming and supportive. She even invited Meghan on a solo engagement soon after, a rare honour. The Queen, pragmatic and adaptable, understood the need for evolution. The idea that she was scandalised by a dress is pure fiction. The real evidence is in her public support and affection. The narrative of a disapproving queen was invented to justify criticism. In truth, the head of the family welcomed Meghan with open arms. The scandal was never in the palace, it was in the headlines. Sometimes the quietest voice is the most honest. So the issue was never about protocol. It was about punishing Meghan for daring to be herself, a confident, beautiful, biracial American woman who didn't ask for permission to shine. They want to shame Meghan posthumously using Quihu's so-called feelings. Let's remember, if the Queen really had a problem with the dress, she didn't say a word publicly. She smiled, stood beside Meghan and carried on. Everything else is just noise from bitter bystanders with fading access and ancient vendettas. So why are we talking about a wedding dress 7 years later? Because it reveals everything about how the institution and the media treat Meghan. Every independent choice she's made has been framed as an insult, a scandal, a disruption. And yet, here's the truth they can't admit. Meghan did it her way, and the world loved it. That dress, that veil, that walk down the aisle, it's etched into history not as a rebellion, but as a declaration of grace, of dignity, of modern royalty. She didn't break protocol. She broke the illusion that royals must fit into outdated molds, and for that, she's still being dragged even by ghosts.